Hi, I'm Joe Walling. Today I'm going to spend a little time with you talking about the schedule. The schedule is where the dispatcher will spend the majority of their day. It's where the schedule is done. It pulls together all the information needed to schedule in one place. For example, you can see the trucks, their status, who's driving each truck, the different order lines, what trucks are assigned, and perform lots of actions. Find other screens without having to go out and search for them individually, but the records that apply directly to the items on the schedule. And as we dig into that, you'll see a little bit more about what I mean. First, we'll talk about the different sections of the schedule. And if you look up at the very top right, you see that you can choose how you want to view it. Whether you want to view by category, which I'm looking at right now, where I can open up each of the truck blocks, or I can see all of them combined. Depending on how many trucks and the different types of trucks that you have will define which of these works best for you. Down below that, we have the search criteria. Okay. This is where you can select a date, because you can only look at the schedule one day at a time. But you can readily switch to another one just by selecting another date. You can select a shift if you have shifts set up. Most don't have shifts set up, so you won't even see this. And if you want to look at a specific office, if you have offices set up, then you'll define this. Now, most are just a single office, so this doesn't matter either. This checkbox here is to hide completed orders. So if you have orders that you've completed during the day, and we'll talk later about completing an order, then those won't show, so you can see just the ones that are your still active orders for the day. And then if you want to hide the progress bar, you can click on this. In some cases, if you're not using certain functionality, it'll be hidden already. And in other cases, where you don't want it does take a little bit of a performance hit because it's doing a lot of calculations on this progress. So if you want to speed up your screen refreshes and don't care about the progress, you can check this to hide it. So that's the criteria section of the schedule. Down below that is what we call the truck block. This is where you can see your different trucks. The different colors of the trucks mean something, and we'll talk about that in just a second. And you saw above how the truck block can change depending on whether you've selected all or a specific category. Now let's talk about the colors. If you see green, that means the truck is fully available for scheduling that day. It has no utilization scheduled yet. The red ones mean you've already fully scheduled this truck for the day. In other words, you've given them a utilization of 1. The yellow ones are in between. You've scheduled them for some dispatches or jobs, but not enough to fill their day. And we'll talk about how you can actually set that value in a little while. Gray ones, these are the trucks that you've taken out of service. Or it could be that if you're using the vehicle maintenance section, that someone in maintenance has taken them out of service. And then the blue trucks are those that you don't have a driver for. So those are the 5 different colors we have. So once again, the green, fully available. Red, you've already got them fully scheduled. Yellow are in between and still have some availability. Gray is out of service. And the blue is you don't have a driver for. Now on this, there's a couple things we can do. If we click on a specific truck, then you'll be able to see the different jobs that truck has for the day. So if they have multiple jobs, they'd all show here. If you right-click on it, then you can either place this truck out of service, or if it's out of service, you'll see an option. So let's look at this out of service one. Now you can place it back in service. Notice how my menu items have changed because there's less I can do with an out of service truck than one that's in service. So as well as being able to take it out of service, I can specify that there's no driver for the truck. In other words, let's go to tomorrow, or let's go to next week. And we know that in truck 113, we're not going to have a driver next week because the default driver in the truck is going to be on vacation. So we'll select, let's see, Monday through Friday, apply it, and we'll save. So now you'll notice this truck turned blue, and all the rest of the week you'll see the same thing for 113. So now if you know who's going to fill the truck on 113 on a 29th, that's when you come in and assign a driver to it. So we'll just say, we'll put Andrew Proctor in it, and we'll save. So now that we have a driver scheduled, and the other thing to note, when a truck is out of service or it doesn't have a driver, you can't schedule it. So that's to keep you from, making commitments that you won't be able to keep. You'll also see that you can change the driver. So if on a certain day, you know that Andrew's going to be driving instead of Deshaun, who's in his truck right now, you could just turn around and change that driver right there on the fly. You don't have to place no driver and then assign a driver. You can just go ahead and change it. And share, most people won't have access to share, but that's for the multi-office users, where you could share this driver and the truck, share the truck with another office. So lots you can do in the truck block section, but even more so down in here in the schedule section, this is where you'll be doing a lot of your work. So we'll start on you'll see that you have this header area, and you see these little arrows that are telling you you can sort by it. So if you wanted to sort by customer, or you want to sort by deliver to, any of these columns, just clicking on it, you can sort by it, click it again, and it sorts in the opposite direction. This button here with the plus sign, or circle with the plus sign, if you click on that, you see the columns that are unable to display in this view because you don't have a large enough display. And you'll notice as you open up your screen, oftentimes you'll be able to display more. So you notice I clicked on this hamburger bar, and it minimized the menus so that now you can see more on this. So that's so you can get at the data that you're unable to display because you don't have a high enough resolution for it. So my recommendation is make sure you get a good large size monitor, so that way you'll minimize how much you can't see. Now as columns drop off, we've chosen ones that are less important, so at least what you're not seeing and having to click on this will be less important things. Typically, you definitely want to see the customer, load at, deliver to, and things like that, so those will be the last ones to drop off and then display down here. In the data area, and a lot of these, you can edit them directly. And when you edit them, they change the underlying data on the order if they're something related to an order. So if I want to come in here and change this to, we want 200 tons, then that also changed the order at the same time. So now that you'd see that that's 200 tons. This column is your requested trucks. That's how many were on the order, because you can also add that on the order, that were requested by the customer. Now you may not be able to give them all of them because you may not have enough trucks, so that's why we have the scheduled trucks. And as you set up your schedule for the day, you'll be able to see how your requested trucks and your scheduled trucks are comparing to what you have available for trucks. So it may be that you can only give Tramiel Corporation 4 trucks instead of the 5 they want because you just don't have enough trucks. Thing to note, the colors here. Look for red. If you see red, it's telling you there's problems. And the problem here is they've requested 5, but you're only going to give them 4. Up here, we have an issue on this top row because we haven't scheduled any trucks at all and they've requested one. We're going to schedule one, but we just haven't yet. So until we fill that in, and if we put, well, let's see, let's put dump truck 429 there, you'll notice that turned black. Now you may be asking, well, I have a truck out here and this is red. Why is that red? Well, you'll also note up here, this is yellow. So that should be the clue to tell you, I probably don't have him fully utilized on this job, and he's going to be partially utilized on some other job. So if we double click on that, you can see the utilization, and he's half utilized on this one line item for the job. So that's why this is yellow and this is still red. This column's the progress. That's going to tell you the progress based on all your trucks and the loads that they've carried compared to what's on the order. Now, in most cases, you'll have this set up so the drivers aren't actually entering ticket numbers and ticket amounts. So in that case, this progress is going to be based on an estimate based on their capacity. So it's going to take the number of loads, and when you set up the trucks, if you set up a capacity either in tons or volume, depending on which of those you're using for the order, then the progress bar will increment based on those estimates. And they should be pretty close if you have your values set properly. So now, the last thing to talk about is all the different actions you can do that are related to a line item. You've got this work, you've got these things scheduled. We tie a lot of other things in the system to these lines in the schedule so that you can always come back to your schedule and drill down into your data from here. So first, let's look at all the things we can do with an order. If we wanted right from here, instead of going out to the order screen, which is covered in another video, you could just click View Edit here, and you don't have to go out and do a search. It's just going to bring your order up. Okay. So let's look at, we viewed the order. Now if we mark an order complete, so let's look at it. In this case, you see, when you see this X here, that means this truck is still active on this job. Now we could turn around, and I right-clicked on this, and I could, well, if I click on this X, so let's go ahead and click on it. Okay, it asks me, do you want to remove this truck or mark it as done? So you only see these options when you're trying to remove a truck and it's the same day. This is today's schedule. With today's schedule, I could be doing one of two things. I could either be marking this truck as done on the job so I can schedule them somewhere else, or I could be removing that truck completely. In other words, that truck hasn't done any work yet, and I really didn't want them to do this job. So depending on whether that truck has done some work or not, will define whether you actually want them removed or you want to mark it as done. Now, for future days when you do that, you don't even see this dialog, with the options, because since they can't possibly be dispatching yet, the only thing it does, it removes them automatically. So in this case, let's just mark it as done. And you notice how this truck now shows up without the X. It's doing that because it's to show you that this truck worked this job, but it's no longer on the job. Now, if we were to close an order, you'll see something very similar. So I can so I'm not over this button here. So when I click that button, you get this menu. But anywhere in this row, I can right click on it and I get the same menu. So if you learn to right click on rows throughout the application, you'll see what menus are available for you to work on. So let's mark this whole job complete. And when you do that, what that's doing is it's taking all the trucks on that job, and it's going to do like we just looked at above, and it's going to mark them complete. Okay. You'll also notice that this looks a little grayed out. Okay, the reason for that is that that job is no longer active. If I wanted to hide it, I could just come down here and you notice that job isn't displayed anymore. We can copy an order. So you've been working this job and they call you and say, next week, all week long, and we're even going to copy the trucks because they know the job. So we want to, in this case, we want to try and keep this same trucks with the jobs, but you don't have to. And we'll click on save. And yep, I may already have something scheduled. So somewhere in that, and it's just telling me that, hey, there is some kind of issue when I copied it. You'll have to go and figure out what it is, whether it's a truck's already been scheduled on that day, and now this would be in addition to that. But as you can see, okay, so here's where it couldn't schedule that truck for one of those days. And it's probably because if you look here, 113, we said he's out of service, or he has no driver. So it wouldn't put 113 out here automatically. We'd have to put a driver in it to then put 113 out here. So let's go back to our original, or now that we show how to copy. And this copy functionality is powerful. Instead of going in and creating a new order for every day, that's how you can create those 5 orders, one for each day, and assign the trucks to it if you wanted to do that all in one step. Just seconds of work instead of what you'd have to go through to set up an order and assign a truck to it. Transfer only applies to the multi-office setup where you might want to transfer an order to another office. Change date, well, say you come in and it's raining. You don't want to have to go through and close these orders out and create new orders for Monday because they, since it's Friday and you're not going to be able to deliver today because of rain, let's go ahead and move that to Monday. And you can do that with change date. Reassigning trucks is functionality to use, like say you have one of those interchange projects that you have to get a load in with a whole bunch of trucks in the morning, but you can only do that one load because they want you to be done by a certain time. And now you have to reassign your trucks to other jobs. So you can use this functionality to, if you had another job that you wanted to send all 4 of these to, you could reassign the trucks to with that. And then you have the option to delete. And there's not a lot you can delete. If you already have data associated with a row, you can't delete it. But if you haven't done anything with the row, you don't have trucks assigned, and you haven't dispatched, and you don't have tickets, then you could delete the order. So in a lot of cases, this option is you're going to click it, and it's going to say, nope, sorry, you can't do that. There's data associated with it. We try to keep you out of trouble. There's several options for printing your orders. So if you want to print this order, and that only applies to this one order, not all of them, we have another option on the main menu to do all of them at once. But in this case, if you want it with no prices, because say you want to give it to the drivers and you don't want them to see the prices, then this is what you'd use. Combined prices, that's typical, what you print and show to a client. The back office detail includes the information that the back office will need in doing their billing work. And this one goes even further than the back office one and includes the delivery info in case you wanted to print that out. So if you are going through and you're getting signatures, taking pictures, and so on using the driver application, then that information can be printed out as well. Tickets is where you enter any tickets associated with this line item. So you just click that button and you'd add your tickets. Dispatch to driver. Okay, this is the functionality that will send these dispatches to the driver application. So if I click on this, I get another screen up where I can enter some more information in. In this case, all the drivers of the trucks that are assigned to this are displayed as a send to. Now, if you only wanted to send to 3 instead of 4 of them, because you didn't want to dispatch this one even though they're on the order, you could remove it. Or you could So as well as that, you can also set how many dispatches for each truck. So if you want each truck to do exactly 2, then we'd select 2. Now if you want to send a single dispatch and you also want to track each load, and they're going to be doing this job all day long, and you may be billing them based on the hour. So you're going to create, one ticket for the 8 or 10 hours that that truck's working. But by setting multi-loads, you can also track each load that truck does. So that way, when your customer comes back to you and says, well, I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth here. I'm paying you, this much for a day, and they only got so many loads. You could actually go in here and look and see how many loads each truck did, even though you might not be billing them based on, that tonnage or the number of loads. And if I click on send, those dispatches have now been sent to those drivers' driver app. You can message drivers. So if you, for this particular job that I just clicked that on, if I want to send, a message like they closed the north gate, use this one, I could send this just to the drivers that were on this line. And under view history, this is where I could see the different loads they've picked up and dumped. So as you can see, there's a lot you can do on this screen. It's color coded to keep you out of trouble. There's lots of calculations to make sure that you don't overschedule or schedule trucks you shouldn't be scheduling. So if you have any questions, be sure to reach out to me and let me know. That's it for now.